Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Catastrophe level? Wu He was shocked. Luo Feng looked at the group of soldiers in front of him. The giant man in the lead said coldly, "I am the captain of the 6th squad of the 1st team, and all the rules and knowledge of the army are in here. Learn everything yourself. And if there are no special occasions, don't disturb other teammates." Then 2 crystal balls showed up. Each crystal was the size of a finger. Luo Feng and Wu He took them. "Go back to training. Prepare," the captain yelled. Yes, some soldiers answered, yet some other soldiers didn't respond. Apparently, the captain didn't have enough authority. "I need to remind you that the catastrophe level task is coming," said a clear voice. It was a female with green skin and green wings. "QFA, do you really think those 2 newbies can survive the catastrophe level task? Humph. They haven't received the basic inheritance, and they don't have enough time to train themselves. How are they going to pass the catastrophe level task?" The other soldiers all shook their heads, teleported, and left. They didn't want to talk with Luo Feng and Wu He. The captain took a look at Luo Feng and Wu He and said, "Prepare yourselves." He left as well. Only Luo Feng and Wu He stayed. "It seems that we're unlucky," Luo Feng whispered. "Wu He, what does catastrophe level tasks mean?" Wu He bellowed, "We're very unlucky. The army will go out and do the task prepared every era, and will be ordered to make attacks at a specific place. For every 10,000 eras, there'll come a task that is very dangerous, and it's at catastrophe level. For every 100 million eras, there'll be a task more horrifying at incarnation level." Incarnation level? Luo Feng was dazed. "That means if you're faced with that task, you're going for incarnations." Wu He glanced at Luo Feng. Luo Feng smiled. Those in the world of Jin treated incarnations as death, which meant the incarnation level task was indeed full of dangers. "If we were in the ordinary army, then even the incarnation level would fine for us," Wu He said nervously. "However, this is Python River Army. The ordinary tasks in Python River Army equal those of the incarnation level of the ordinary army. As for catastrophe level, that means a real catastrophe for talents like us. The incarnation level is a nightmare. Half of experienced soldiers will die during the incarnation level task. By comparison, the survival rate in the ordinary army is much higher. Those who have been training for a long time in the ordinary army can become supreme beings among law universes. Those supreme beings can survive the incarnation level tasks. The more powerful someone is, the most difficult the tasks will be. At the law universe level, no matter how powerful we are, there's a limit. However, the military task is very difficult, and many die." Luo Feng felt intimidated. Only a few out of 100 who joined the ordinary army could live long enough to retire. According to Wu He, special armies like Python River Army had an even lower survival rate. His Majesty the Godly King, from the world of Jin, had designed a mad screening process. "It's much more dangerous." Wu He's eyes glinted madly. "But it's much easier for us to get a precious inheritance and powerful valuables. Those supreme beings in the world of Jin, like true gods of void space, were all selected from the special armies. As for ordinary armies, they'll stay mediocre for their entire lives. My father is the master of Northern True Ocean. I need to become as powerful as my father, if not stronger." Luo Feng took a look at Wu He and smiled. "Let's go. We need to choose an island to live on first." Complicated information was contained in the crystal balls, but there wasn't much of it. It simply introduced the military rules and regulations to Luo Feng and Wu He, who immediately grasped them using their godly power. They also knew that this lake belonged to Python River Army. There were 3 teams in Python River Army, and each team occupied an area of this lake. There were 9 squads in the first team, and each squad had its own area. They could choose any island without an owner for them to practice on. They teleported and became streaks of red light flying across the sky above an island. Soldiers in the special army have different treatments, as they can occupy an island while other great beings are banned from entering it. Luo Feng looked down and felt satisfied. As for Wu He chose a more distant island. Luo Feng quickly landed. The island had a diameter of more than 100,000 kilometers. It was only a small island. At the center was a simple, stone-made residence. If he wasn't satisfied with it, he could certainly rebuild it. Luo Feng didn't care about that, as he only needed a place to rest. Freeze. Luo Feng's godly power spread, and he went to the deep area of the island. He touched a prismatic crystal stone and infused his godly power. The crystal stone's color changed. From now on, the island had an owner. On the roof of the stone-made house, Luo Feng lay in a stone chair. The stone chair was huge, and Luo Feng's godly body changed to 100 kilometers tall. He lay on the stone chair as if it were a bed. He looked into the distance and could see endless lakes and islands. I've entered world of Jin and Python River Army, the special army of the East Army. 1 year later, there will be a task. Luo Feng was thinking about his path. Supreme True Treasures. Machine-type valuables. They both required military credit. I really need blood and scale armors of true gods, Luo Feng thought. I need to get as many bodies of true gods as possible and take them back to the original universe. In the past 8 million eras, Luo Feng had devoted most of his energy to studying the composition of life forms. Humans were of flesh and blood type, so he would still be a life of flesh and blood type after he became a true god and all his bodies were combined as one. As a result, Luo Feng best understood flesh and blood type life forms. He could change the new remote ocean body into a flesh and blood life form using the structure of life genes, and he could make its life gene level reach 10,081 times. However, Mosha body was an energy type life form, and Luo Feng hadn't spent much time on them. Although he had an elementary understanding, its life gene level was only at 5,000 times. I've improved too slowly. I haven't even surpassed 10,081 times yet, let alone 90,000 times. Luo Feng felt nervous. Based on his understanding, the higher a gene level was, the more difficult it was to get a higher gene level. His original life gene level was 10,081 times, so it would only take him a little time to analyze this level. He had succeeded in fully analyzing this level, and he had reorganized remote ocean body with a life gene level of 1,000 times. It was like turning wood into a diamond. He had changed the internal composition of remote ocean body, making it a powerful godly body at the perfect life gene level. However, surpassing 10,081 times and reaching 15,000 times or higher was much more difficult. There were several levels. Level 1 was to surpass the perfect life gene level. Level 2 was to reach a life gene level of 30,000 times. Level 3 was to reach 60,000 times. Level 4 was to reach 90,000 times. In terms of gene structure, true gods were far more advanced than universe masters, and they could provide more insights in terms of a breakthrough for Luo Feng. However, Luo Feng only had the body of Great Thunderstar Master and the hair and blood of Sitting Mountain Guest and Primal Chaos City Leader. That was far from adequate, he needed much more. Luo Feng knew exactly the steps he needed to follow. First, he needed to analyze billions of life forms and billions of material structures. Second, he needed to create life forms. Life forms that could procreate were the most difficult to create. The life forms 9 Remoteness Master created were born in the ocean. They were all energy life forms, so they couldn't procreate. Those were the easiest ones to create. If Luo Feng wanted to create life forms that could procreate, he needed to study the origin of life forms, which was far more complicated. Of course, it would help to analyze many life forms. Luo Feng estimated that his godly body could at least evolve to a life gene level of 50,000 times. Only after reaching that level could he create life forms that could procreate, which could, in turn, help him move higher on the godly power path. Bodies of true gods and military credit. Luo Feng thought. I'll go check the basic inheritance now. Luo Feng, who had been lying on the stone chair, flew away like a streak of light. There was a basic inheritance of Python River Army at the center of the island. Luo Feng immediately landed. There were pillars all around the island, and each pillar had a crystal ball. Wu He was shaking his head in the distance, and his body was winding around a pillar. Milky Way. Wu He let go of the stone pillar. His claws clenched the ground, and the wings on his neck fluttered. He flew toward Luo Feng like a streak of light. What took you so long? The catastrophe level task is coming. We need to spend as much time as possible to study the basic inheritance. Although it's a basic inheritance, it's still a lot. That's something even my father couldn't teach me, and it is precious. Those from the army need to exchange the inheritance for military credits. We're in the special army, which is why we can get a free basic inheritance instantly after we enter. However, the more complicated the inheritance was, the more military credits were required to get it. Be quick. I'll continue with my comprehension. Wu He stopped speaking. Apparently, he wanted to fully utilize the time. Luo Feng nodded. There were around 100 crystal balls on the island. He immediately spread his godly power and penetrated it into each crystal ball. Information flooded his mind. True treasure making, machine making, close combat, illusions, combinations, and burning godly power techniques. Luo Feng was greatly surprised. He had expected the basic inheritance to be mediocre, but it was, in fact, very useful. Those combat techniques, combination techniques, and burning godly power techniques could all improve his fighting power. As for the training, it only covered how to become a true god. Burning godly power techniques only had one level, like the first volume of Duan Mie. Based on the instruction, law masters could only learn the first level while true gods could learn the second level. The inheritance after that required military credits to be obtained. Luo Feng memorized all of Python River Army's fundamental inheritance and was shocked when he learned more about it. This fundamental inheritance might have been a notch less superior compared to the inheritance of the pulse of Duan Dong River, but compared to what he had gotten from the memory stone with that tremendous amount of memory, and based on his understanding of ancient civilization, this was absolutely top-notch inheritance. A powerful inheritance was not easily imparted in the world of the ancient civilization. The inheritance of an army, especially the inheritance of Python River Army, was enough to be regarded as a superior inheritance. Of course, this was only a small portion of the most fundamental part of this superior inheritance. Anything beyond this would need to be exchanged with more military credit. The inheritance of the pulse of Duan Dong River was regarded as a super inheritance, and Luo Feng had the entire set. After I have mastered this set of secret techniques on blazing my godly power, I will be able to execute the first stage of extermination, Luo Feng thought. World of Jin is very stringent in its management of the inheritance. If I were to execute extermination by blazing my godly power but be unable to tell where I learned this secret technique on blazing godly power, I will be sentenced to death. Just as Luo Feng was putting on a show of learning the fundamental inheritance. In the human territory of the primal universe, in Milky Way Holy Land, Luo Feng's new remote ocean body sat cross-legged in a towering hall on the 9th story. There was nothing in the surroundings, only the vast space could be seen. He opened his eyes and stood up right away. He turned his head to look into the distance. A streak of light flew by. It was the Ancestral God School's double-face ancestral god. Milky Way Horde leader. Double-face ancestral god stepped onto the black jaded floor of the hall on the 9th story and smiled as he looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng was surprised as he returned the smile. Ancestral god, why have you come calling on me? You and I are good friends. Even if there is nothing going on, can't I just come calling on you? Double-face ancestral god teased. Luo Feng smiled in return. Of course you can. If you are willing to, you may stay for as long as you please. This double-face ancestral god had saved him once. Out of the 3 great ancestral gods, Luo Feng was indeed most fond of double-face ancestral god. Double-face ancestral god said right away, of course I do have a purpose in coming here. Milky Way Horde leader from the world of Jin, you have gained a lot. Otherwise, you would not have alarmed the willpower of the primal universe origin. My purpose in coming here this time around is to represent the willpower of the primal universe origin. Oh! Luo Feng was shocked. Represent the willpower of the origin? Who had said he had gained a lot? It seemed like the primal universe origin knew a lot about him, which made sense though, as he did not feel constrained when he was in the world of Jinn. He had also tried comprehending the memory stones found in the space of inheritance of the boat of Mausoleum, but he realized he was still unable to view the more profound content. That was when Luo Feng realized that the willpower of the primal universe origin still wielded influence over him. World of Jinn existed within the universe ocean, and under the guidance of the willpower of the primal universe origin, it would be strange if there was no control at all. I have gained a lot. Luo Feng laughed. How so? Milky Way Horde leader should know, Double-Face ancestral god said indifferently. I may not be that clear about it, but according to the willpower of the primal universe origin, out of all the great beings from the first batch to enter the universe ocean, you are one of those with the greatest amount gained. Luo Feng squinted. The greatest amount gained? Now that he had been accepted into Python River Army, he had gained a set of Python River armor. Python River armor was a true god-level armor and was regarded as a supreme true treasure. However, Luo Feng had discovered that when his Shi Wu wings were extended into a suit of armor, the armor was still much stronger than the Python River armor. By donning the armor that was an extension of Shi Wu wings, any attacks that were weaker than 8th tier combat power would not be able to harm the godly body under its protection. But Python River armor was only capable of keeping the godly body safe from any attacks that were below the 7th tier. As for the magnitude of the weakening effect, both were on par. However, the limit of endurance of Python River armor was far from the limit of endurance of the armor that was an extension of Shi Wu wings. If he'd had no means of comparison, he would not have known. But upon comparison, Luo Feng was all the more aware of how impressive Shi Wu wings were. Other than gaining the Python River armor, the most important gain he had made was his identity as a Python River Army warrior, a warrior of a special troop, whether it was military credits or the inheritance that could be exchanged, was greatly superior. The number of great beings of groups of top powers from the universe ocean who had entered Python River for the first time was not that many, around 200 or more. Yet, right from the start, quite a few were already being annihilated. There were some who had managed to sneak their way into the army, but to further worm their way into a troop as special as the Python River Army. Other than Luo Feng, there was no one. Instantly, various thoughts started to surface in Luo Feng's mind. He looked at Double-Face ancestral god, who was right before him. Ancestral god, your purpose here. What is your true intention? I have come under the orders of the willpower of the primal universe origin to guide you. Double-Face ancestral god looked at Luo Feng. His entire being radiated oppressive force. Though not overwhelmingly strong, it was obviously still a very powerful force that far surpassed a true god of void space to the extent of transcendence. Obviously, this was something the universe origin of the primal universe had bestowed upon him. For a normal reincarnation era, there will not be a fourth most dangerous land appearing, he articulated slowly. And this era now is obviously not normal, which is why a fourth most dangerous land has appeared. This is a great opportunity, but also a great disaster. His voice was like a heavy hammer that pounded against Luo Feng's heart. A great disaster? Luo Feng frowned. The appearance of that humanoid life form, the willpower of the primal universe origin had provided them with guidance and told them the way to enter the world of Jinn. Going such great lengths to help them, it must have had a purpose for doing so. After all, the willpower of the origin was normally so detached. By right, there should be no reason for it to interfere as such. Obviously, it must have had a purpose. It, who had once suppressed teacher origin. It, who had once killed Yuan Ao Master and banished a strange object. It, who had wanted to annihilate three great beings such as Great Thunderstar Master. All of these factors went to show that the willpower of the primal universe origin had a standpoint of its own. Out with it. Luo Feng looked at Double-Face ancestral god. What is it that you want me to do? You are going to be the #1 master of the entire universe ocean. Double-Face ancestral god slowly made his point. This is something you cannot deny. Your power is going to be much stronger than teacher origin in the future. All the disasters. You need to deal with them. And how should you deal with them is that you need to rely on the world of Jinn. Remember, Double-Face ancestral god looked at Luo Feng. Adhering to the rules within the world of Jinn, Try your best to gain benefits that can allow you to empower yourself. Your strength and power will be the hope of the willpower of the primal universe origin. As a child of the primal universe, whatever does harm to the primal universe will also be harmful to you. Remember, everything is in the world of Jinn. You have to get stronger. Doubleface ancestral god smiled after he finished saying his piece, then transformed into flowing light and left. Luo Feng stood in silence at the same spot, gazing into the distance in the direction Doubleface ancestral god was going. The willpower of the origin truly values me, Luo Feng mumbled to himself in a hushed tone. Everything that had happened earlier on had allowed Luo Feng to understand this. The willpower of the origin was unable to make any moves on its own, so in everything that it needed to accomplish, it would have to borrow the hands of other great beings. Apparently, the willpower of the origin had set its eyes on Luo Feng and felt that he would be the one true strongest being in the future. This was the reason it had been providing him with help and guidance all this while. It had the intention of getting Luo Feng to become a keen tool of the willpower of the origin, someone who could damage and destroy all enemies. I am the child of the primal universe. Anything that harms it will also harm me? Luo Feng was asking himself this question repeatedly in his heart. This was obviously telling Luo Feng that the willpower of the primal universe origin stood on the same side as him. Whatever you say, I should just believe. The world of Jinn appearing. Before Great Thunderstar Master was annihilated, the power he executed was something entirely different from his godly power. The proactive guidance by the willpower of the primal universe origin. Everything has to have a purpose. The willpower of the origin cannot directly attack on its own. So long as my power is strong enough, and I can become the #1 master of the entire universe ocean, by then, I will truly dominate the right to speak. Let's see. Let's wait and see what is going to happen. Before whatever is in store for me, I need to brush up on my ability. Luo Feng felt no resentment. The willpower of the primal universe origin had wanted him to understand this crisis so he would feel the sense of urgency in elevating himself. He would do just that. After all, there was nothing wrong in making oneself more powerful. Virtual universe, the peak of Thunder Island. Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City leader met up. Teacher, this is the secret technique on blazing godly power of Python River Army. Luo Feng had stored records of the inheritance of Python River Army in the virtual universe and sent them over to Primal Chaos City leader as a message. Secret technique on blazing godly power? Primal Chaos City leader looked through thoroughly. Yes, even for the ancient civilization, this secret technique on blazing godly power can only be created by an extremely strong existence, Luo Feng explained solemnly. But teacher, you have to bear in mind that the moment you enter the world of Jinn, such special methods like techniques on blazing of godly power must not be executed. Otherwise, you will be investigated by the army in the most stringent manner, and if you are unable to tell them where you acquired such a technique, you will be sentenced to death. Internally, the world of Jinn is extremely strict with how it handles its inheritance. Primal Chaos City leader nodded. You can rest assured. Also, just a while ago, the willpower of the origin sent me a message through Ancestral God, Luo Feng said slowly. He mentioned some kind of great disaster, and he wanted me to do my best to increase my power when I'm in the world of Jinn. Humph. Primal Chaos City leader gave a hostile snort and said, I have spoken with Teacher Origin. You need not be bothered about any great disaster. It is only intimidating you. Even if there was a great disaster, it might not be a disaster directed at us. Like East Emperor Holy Land, it survived through countless reincarnation eras, and is it not still going strong? According to Teacher Origin, the willpower of the primal universe origin is not invincible, so you need not be overly concerned. But of course, increasing your power. There is nothing wrong with that. Luo Feng nodded. Yes. The willpower of the origin had decided to use him as its weapon, but that also depended on whether or not he was willing to be used. But you have to make sure you grasp the right opportunity. Based on the information I received, there are more and more great beings being annihilated in the world of Jinn, Primal Chaos City leader said in a solemn tone. It was said that Divine Eye clan had sent in its army, But the moment its army entered, it was killed in the military camp. Only a handful survived. Regardless, groups of top powers of Universe Ocean would have to wait another century before they could enter. Now, you have an advantage over them, so you must try your best to grab the right opportunity. Luo Feng nodded with a smile. The pitiful Divine Eye clan, killed in the military camp. The ordinary army was more scattered and dispersed. While the special army was prohibited from mutual killing in the camp, the ordinary army was looser on such discipline. Only by standing out from the crowd to be accepted into the special army would one be able to truly receive specialized cultivation. World of Jin, East Army, military camp of the Law Masters of the Python River Army, the island of the fundamental inheritance. No matter how anxious the various groups of top powers of Universe Ocean were, Luo Feng had come to the world of Jin in peace. Milky Way, tomorrow is the day we must receive our military mission, Wu He said, flying over from afar. This is a disaster-level mission. Have you gained anything from cultivating on the fundamental inheritance? I have mastered the secret technique on blazing godly power, Luo Feng said casually. Wu He's eyes widened instantly. The wings attached to his neck also stopped their fanning motion. It has only been how long since you started? Wu He was shocked. Then he senselessly said, when you have yet to receive that technique of blazing godly power, you are already able to defeat me. That blade technique of yours is especially terrifying. The power of your blade could be so well condensed that it could penetrate my armor without causing any external damage and yet cause my godly body to be greatly consumed. And your close combat dodging allows you to transform so quickly that I have no time to resist. Being your target and enduring so many blows from you, an entire half of my godly body was used up. Luo Feng merely grinned in response. Back then, they had battled for half an hour. 3,000 had turned up for the selection, but not more than 1,000 had survived to the end. It was hard to imagine how long it took Luo Feng to kill and how fast his blade was. The number of blows hacking onto Wu He's body was unknown, but it had destroyed 50% of his godly body. Let's go have a good rest, Wu He said. We are heading out tomorrow, and I really hope we can make it back alive. Luo Feng waited on the stone roof of the house on his island. Catastrophe-level tasks. How difficult is it going to be? Luo Feng thought. Dangerous as it seems, it's a great chance to gain lots of military credits. Everyone depended on military points in the army. By sitting around and doing nothing, death would be one's only destiny. Normally, when someone went out for a task, he would buy some valuables with his military points, such as valuables that could immediately recover godly bodies or true treasures and machine-type valuables used for escape. However, Luo Feng didn't have any military credits, so he couldn't get any valuables. At the same time, Luo Feng and Wu He got the arms credits from Python River Armor. Captain, all of us combined only have around 2,600 military credits. What can we convert them into? This is the catastrophe-level task that was only met every 10,000 eras. We need to get enough of those that can save lives. Outside the arms palace, the 18 soldiers from the 6th squad of the first team were discussing the exchange. A bunch of morons. 6 beings glanced at them in despise and entered the arms camp. The 18 soldiers were irritated. It's you, Luo, and the others. Let them be smug. They can't be so lucky forever. That's right. We'll set them a trap at some point. The 18 soldiers all felt annoyed. A voice was transmitted to all the soldiers from the first team. Gather. Luo Feng, who lay on the rooftop, also opened his eyes. So it begins. Luo Feng smiled. He flew from the island, teleported, and proceeded toward the island of basic inheritance. The camp of the Python River Army was enormous, and the gathering point was the island of basic inheritance. Milky Way. Wu He. Luo Feng arrived on the island of basic inheritance. A strange beast was close by. Wu He flew toward him, shaking his wings. Luo Feng took a look at the island. Many soldiers had already arrived. Milky Way, I've asked around. Wu He transmitted his voice. There are 39 soldiers in total. The original 37 soldiers didn't have enough unity, so they were divided into 3 small teams. One is led by the team captain, and there are 18 soldiers. One of them is led by Ku Fa, and it has 10 soldiers. Another is led by Yu Luo, and there are 9 soldiers. Oh! Luo Feng took a look at Wu He in surprise. No wonder Wu He was a child of the master of Northern True Ocean. It seemed that he had fully prepared himself after entering Python River Army and had learned about the internal relations. Wu He did a far better job than him. Su. They flew toward the island immediately as they spoke. They landed on the island, and over 30 beings had already gathered. Luo Feng glanced around and saw that the soldiers were divided into 3 circles. The team captain he had seen before was in a circle. Ku Fa, who had a gentle appearance, was in another circle, while a cold, angry-looking individual was the leader of another circle. The soldiers didn't look happy about Luo Feng and Wu His arrival. Apparently, they were trying to warn them not to get close. The team captain is just, Wu He said, transmitting his voice. Ku Fa has the best temper. As for Yu Luo, he's the one with green skin and 18 hoofs. He's very aggressive. More than half the strange beasts in our team are led by him. Normally, they would try to recruit us. However, we are facing the catastrophe level task, and we've never cooperated with them. We haven't practiced any combined attacks technique with them. None of the squads will accept us for their own sake. Luo Feng nodded. It was to be expected. Those 3 squads had been through countless life-and-death battles together, and they cooperated with one another well. If they let in the new soldiers, it would only hinder their cohesion. No matter how kind they might be, they wouldn't be willing to do that. Milky Way, Wu He, said the captain coldly. You're on your own for this catastrophe-level task. Do you understand? Wu He smirked and said, Of course, we understand. Luo Feng nodded. The team captain nodded. Great. Then he stopped talking. To him, neither of these new soldiers had enough time to practice the inheritance, and they didn't even have the military credits to buy valuables or some better inheritance. Unless they got exceedingly lucky, they were bound to die. One being after another landed within their designated circles. Go, ordered the captain. Let's go get the task for this time. There were 4 teams, one led by the captain, one led by Ku Fa, one led by Yu Luo, and the new soldier squad that consisted of Luo Feng and Wu He. They immediately flew out and teleported. After nearly a day, all 39 soldiers arrived at an area dominated by a palace. The strange black palace was surrounded by many sculptures, and there were many great beings here. A light pillar shot toward the soldiers. Voices entered their heads telling them the detailed task from the military. The location was 9 Smoke Marsh, 10,000 military points, which could be gained by killing a true god. Killing a law master was worth 1 military point. The required proof of killing a true god was to recover its body, and the required proof of killing a law master was its plundered weapons. As for the deadline, it had to be completed before the next task. Otherwise, there would be punishment. The description was simple, yet it frightened Luo Feng and Wu He. Kill a true god or law master in 9 Smoke Marsh? We're in big trouble, Wu He said, clearly worried. It's 9 Smoke Marsh. Although that territory is not as powerful as Northern True Ocean, it's still a great power. There are many true gods and countless law masters. It would be suicide for us to go there. Wu He had been quite confident before receiving this task. He was powerful, and he had believed that no matter how difficult the task was, he would be able to finish it if he dedicated enough time. However, he crumbled after learning the task. Luo Feng was nervous. 10,000 military credit. How could they do it? He'd already seen 9 Smoke Marsh on his way here. It was a swamp surrounded by smoke and mist. While flying over it, he had spotted many true gods. To kill 1 true god in an era would have been possible for Luo Feng after 800 eras of training. Of course, the true god couldn't hide in a supreme true treasure palace. However, killing a true god in 9 Smoke Marsh would be very difficult for him. The other true gods in 9 Smoke Marsh wouldn't be foolish enough as to just let Luo Feng and the others attack without any consequence. There were 39 law masters, and a group of true gods from 9 Smoke Marsh could kill them all. It's crazy. 10,000 military credit. Luo Feng thought. Even if I shift my target to law masters, I would need to kill 10,000 of them. They are probably well protected in 9 Smoke Marsh. It might be possible to kill 10, but killing too many would certainly alert the true gods. Once surrounded by a large group of true gods, I wouldn't be able to make it out, even with Boat of Mausoleum. Luo Feng was really worried. He had been encircled by many Universe Supreme Masters in Universe Ocean, but there weren't many Universe Supreme Masters in Universe Ocean. Besides, they had all been suppressed. In 9 Smoke Marsh, however, there could be hundreds of true gods encircling him, and none of them had their power restrained. He might not be able to get away even in Boat of Mausoleum. This is madness, thought Luo Feng. Fortunately, true gods of void space won't meddle in army tasks. Otherwise, I would have no hope. Military tasks. There was a hidden agreement between the army and the tribal powers and strange beast powers. Squads who were sent to attack a particular power was clearly sent for training purposes. Luo Feng's squad didn't pose any threat to 9 Smoke Marsh, so the 3 true gods of void space wouldn't interfere. However, true gods could participate. It's very difficult to succeed, but if I fail, Luo Feng thought. According to the military rule, he would be executed. With the authority of the army, one order could turn all the tribal powers and strange beast powers against them. They wouldn't be able to get away. If someone had 100,000 military credits, they could use them to save their lives, as merits offset faults. However, 100,000 military credits was an exorbitant sum. Even experienced soldiers didn't have that many military credits, let alone Luo Feng. If someone did have that many military credits, they would use them to improve their power. The entire team stayed silent outside the strange palace. Everyone felt the pressure. Everyone knows the task now, the team captain said, glancing around. There's a required location for the task, which means all the true gods and law masters we kill need to be from 9 Smoke Marsh. When we come back, the military will contact 9 Smoke Marsh to confirm our military credits. If this task wasn't in 9 Smoke Marsh, we could certainly kill a true god as individual teams, and if we kept doing that, it would only be a matter of time before we succeeded. However, this is 9 Smoke Marsh, so we could be surrounded by a large group of true gods, after which, we won't be able to get away. The team captain looked around. I think we need to cooperate. This video will end here.